Hey everyone, how we doing? We are doing a race recap of Laguna Seca. Oh my goodness, what a horrible week it was. Uh, yeah, I mean, it was a horrible week for a number of reasons that I partly recapped in the last recap video. With someone leaving the team and being called a cheater and whatnot, but it was just a horrible race. So you know, I don't know what else to say. We'll get into it and have a look. But yeah, as you can probably see from the screen cap of the on the thumbnail image of the video, it was yeah, not great. But anyway, let's have a look before we do anything. We'll jump in, have a look at the standings. So after Laguna Seca, I've unfortunately dropped a spot to my teammate Jason Sieg, who had a cracker at Laguna. So I'm 60 points away from him. I have a couple of races that I did pretty poorly throughout the early rounds, so there's still two more races left to go. I've got to pick up at least 25 points more in each, 25, 30 points more in each, and maybe we can get back up to P2. P1 is out of reach. Edward, I think, has that sewn up. But anyway, let's jump in, have a look at um, some qualifying action. Here's the results of qualifying. Eddie, pole, Jason Sieg, teammate, 3/10 away from Eddie, and myself 4/10 away. I'll go into a little bit of a reason why I didn't put my laps together, unfortunately. Still managed to put it in front of Fabio and Yuki though, which was awesome, but ultimately it didn't amount to much. And then Miguel and Ollie in P6 and 7, about a second off pole. So still got a little bit of work to do. I think Laguna is a real confidence track. I've never had a good result here, and I know I had more in for Quali, so I don't think I would have been 4/10 off, but I still don't think I would have been able to beat Eddie here in Quali. So let's have a look. First off, this is, my outlap here, coming up to the last corner, and this is actually what pretty much ruined Quali for me straight up. Just turning in a bit too aggressively and spun it, and four-wheel slide. My tires are really hot. Not only that, now, you want to have a really good run down this long straight because now I'm just losing time. So, this pretty much set up my Quali. Um, it was a poor first lap, poor um, first sector, and that just means in the rest of your laps, you're always trying to play a little bit of catch up. So I didn't get the banker in on the first lap, which means I had to play it a little bit more conservative on the second lap just to make sure I improved but didn't, overstep. So anyway, that at the end of quali, I was feeling okay though, like P3, um, and I knew this race. It's a lot of attrition at Laguna. There's so many spots where you can just absolutely bin it. Um, so every corner you can have an off basically that is race ending. Um, so yeah, that's I thought going after quali, put that behind me. P3, my teammate in front of me, we could potentially work together to maybe make Ed's life a little bit, put him under a bit of pressure and then maybe capitalize on a mistake. Um, but yeah, so that was what I was thinking coming into the start of the race, which we'll just skip to here. Um, now, what I will say is I through the week I got a new wheel, like a Cube Controls F Pro, and it's sick. It's awesome. Um, and I finally got clutches, and before this race, I didn't have clutches. I don't have a pedal clutch. I've only got gas and a brake. So I was, keen to put that to use and try and get a good start because I know people like Yuki um, use dual clutches and they get phenomenal starts, and same with Ollie gets a phenomenal start. Um, Eddie and Jason typically do a bit of a hack type of start where you kind of can use a button as a clutch, and that's what I've been doing before this as well. Um, so this I was really keen on getting a good launch and trying to maybe put Jace under a little bit of pressure going into T1 because I know here the inside line is way better than being on the outside. You've just got to be more cautious on the outside. A lot of people tend to brake late, you know, um, and push wide, so you've got to be really careful, and you could just carry that speed through on the inside for some reason. I think there must be some camber or something on the road. But look, let's just play this out, and then we'll recap it, and yeah. So yeah, that went really well. Um, I'll show show it from my cockpit view. Um, now, um, sorry, I could get this in. So the first thing you'll notice, um, I'll just show you my typical start procedure is, foot on the brake, um, put the clutch into the first bite point, and then full gas and shift into first. And you'll hear the car kind of, it doesn't bog down. You sort of still got revs, and then when the lights go out, you just let off the brake, and you've kept the clutch in at the certain bite point, and you sort of go away, and then let off the clutch when you're about, between 80 and 100 kilometers an hour. So I'll just show you, play it through once again, real time. Just watch Eddie in front, and yeah, take a look at my inputs down below here. So, yep, yep. So I've noticed Eddie's jumped. Eddie's jumped the start. Um, so if I just play this through here, you can see he jumps the start. And right then, I've known he's jumped the start. I almost went, but didn't. Um, so you can see him roll forward there. I almost went, but didn't. And then I've just got immediate wheel spin. Um, and now I've had this happen a couple times before, but usually the start is really safe. I'll just show you what I think it happened. Um, so when I put the car into first, you'll watch it jumps forward, and there's a bunch of smoke from my rear tires. So I'll just play this through. I've put it in a first, and you can see it's sort of spun the wheels a little bit, and there's a whole bunch of smoke. And then you watch from this angle, once I play it through, you'll see some black marks, a gap, and then black marks. But you'll see as soon as I let off the brake, I get instant wheel spin. And so you can see I've just got instant wheel spin. And as I sort of go there, you can see that I've got the black marks, and I think that's from when I put it into first gear and the car jumped forward. And then a gap, and then I've got black marks. Now, I've spoken to a bunch of people about this. Greg Olson seems to think that what happens is when you're sitting on the grid, we've all got the same tire temperatures. So it doesn't matter when you grid, everybody gets the same tire temperatures, and that makes sense because you don't, there's a minute between the first person gridding and the last person, and you could be losing temps then. So all your tire temps are the same, and apparently he seemed to suggest that as soon as you move, the tire temps can drop. Um, so what's potentially happened is I've moved, the tire temps have dropped, and I'm still waiting, and then I've gone, and so I've got immediate wheel spin because the temps have dropped away. I've tried to reproduce this because I'm super worried about happening again, but I just, no matter what I did, I couldn't reproduce this problem. I got, you know, all good starts. Now the difference is the way I practice starts is I'll go out of the pits, sort of do a U-turn, come back and spin around and go to the starting grid. But again, we don't get that the issue there where the tire temps change as soon as you move. Um, so it's never quite the same, and I wish iRacing would put AI cars in for us so we could practice starts and stuff like that, because right now it's a guessing game for starts. So anyway, I'm this obviously completely ruined my race and ruined a bunch of other people's races. But um, what's a bit disappointing here, even though I've got a terrible, it's my fault I didn't get away. I didn't hit anybody. Yuki got a great start, and instead of backing out um, of that, he's kept his foot in and hit me, and then hit Fabio, and then Ollie's got a really good start as well, and unfortunately Ollie's gone into the back of Yuki as well. So it's hard. Like the grid spots here at Laguna are really tight as well, so there's usually in other places a bit further apart, but you can see from Ollie's on board how quickly sort of everything unfolds. And then it's sort of too late there. And likewise with Yuki. Yeah, but look, I take responsibility for my very poor start, but I feel like the guys behind should have been able to maybe just back off rather than keep the foot in. Um, and you know, yeah, it's a tough one. Like my fault for getting a poor start, but I can't help. I couldn't, but I don't know much more what I could have done there. I really feel like that jump forward put me in a position where I just, no matter what I would have done, the wheels probably would have spun on the start. But yeah, maybe people behind, if just a bit more wary. Miguel, who does the starts as well, didn't get a great start. He was a bit late, but he's managed to avoid it all um, by going off. Not much room, but yeah, I think potentially if Yuki maybe have tried to gun it around, um, if he maybe not have hit Fabio, we might have made it a bit through there a little bit, but yeah, you never know. It's a tough one. But anyway, that's ruined a lot of people's races there. Um, Unfortunately, and like I said, there's just really not much room here at Laguna. Um, and the people that got through, um, yeah, congratulations. So out of all this, um, we will look at is the start between these two. So Eddie jumps, Jace gets away. He gets a bit of wheel spin too, though. You can see there, but he didn't end up trying to fight Ed, who he probably he had a good launch, and he probably could have, but after this, um, Ed had, a penalty. Actually, there's interesting here. They both went in probably a bit hot into the corkscrew, and Ed's had to go on through there. Uh, and likewise with Jace, they both went a bit deep through here, and luckily hung on. But Ed had to pit because he had to pit. Um, he's gone in a bit hot there as well, and and then Jace is in the lead, and Miguel running second. So Downforce Racing 1-2 right now. So anyway, that was, yeah, unfortunately, that's where I ended up. And as you can see, I've got some rear damage, and some pretty strong front wing damage. I didn't end up pitting. I probably should have. I didn't know how bad my damage was or where it was. So I was afraid if I pit, I would have got meatballed. So I just carried on. And unfortunately, it cost me about 2 seconds a lap. Maybe a little bit more. That damage. So if that's all the front wing damage, if that's all it was, I probably should have pit because I would have made up the time within 10 laps. And then had another 10 laps of, less than 20 seconds. So anyway, that's how it goes sometimes. As I said, super, super disappointed. Particularly with how my whole week had been. I really wanted to come back and have a really good result, and jumping the start meant that there was a chance for the win on the board as well. So a bit disappointing. I mean, I think there was a chance for at least P2, maybe even the win, even if Ed didn't jump the start, and that's again because attrition here, and we'll go into it. So let's have a look at the. We'll start having a look at a few other incidents throughout the race.
Nothing, just an incident on the race.
So yes, we're just, usually we don't have incidents on before the start finish line, but so we've, the whole first part of this has been incidents. But let's look at a few incidents that are not from me throughout the race. Unfortunately, we got Jamie Byrne here. He was carrying a bit of damage. I'm assuming from the first. Oh no, sorry. Jamie Byrne, he's managed to get through the first melee. But unfortunately, he has a little incident here. He's gone a little bit wide, and unfortunately put it into the wall. I mean, there's not much you can say about that. In the first few laps here, you do get a bit of understeer here and there, a bit of weirdness, and he's just understeered wide. Sometimes he can get away with it, but it looked like he's probably kept the steering wheel. Yeah, he's kept the steering wheel angled. As soon as you get on the dirt or grass, you've got to try and keep everything straight as you can, because it's gonna drag you around there, and that unfortunately was the mistake. He potentially could have recovered it if he had have just opened up the wheel here, but it's it's an unfortunate one. It's a slow motion crash. So yeah, just an incident, unfortunately. So the next one we're going to look at is Ludovic. So Ludovic is usually right up the very front. Last week in Silverstone, he came second. He was running down the order a bit and benefited from Fabio and Carlos crashing. But usually he's right up there, and this week he started in the back, which might have been the thing that saved him, you know. But he's got the work cut out for him, so he's P8 here, P6, made up a few positions, coming up on his teammate who's had a bit of damage, P5, and now he's chasing Shane Lambert. So lap 4, and he's making good inroads here. It's right on the back of him. I'm going to take the position into T1 here. Nicely done. Shane, I think, was a little out of position, running a bit higher than maybe he usually does, and wasn't going to fight it, which is the smart thing to do. Is, if someone's coming up on you and they're coming at you, lap after lap, they're making progress, there's no point fighting for the position unless it's like the last couple laps and it's, you want to try and keep the position. But, on lap 6, there is just no point fighting it, because you're more than likely going to end, yourself spinning it because you're just overdriving a little bit, or you're going to end up tangling with the other person who's just getting maybe a bit impatient to try and get past. So he did the right thing there, just letting it past. So everything looks like it's going well for Ludovic, and as I mentioned, anywhere on this track, any corner is a race-ending corner, and he's gotten a bit off track, gone a bit wonky there, and unfortunately, I mentioned Shane Gitt doing the right thing, letting Ludovic past, but in this instance, it might have been better if he stayed in front. So here, it's an odd one. Maybe it's a bit of brain fade from Ludovic, but he should be more, in my opinion, he's a bit out of position here. He's sort of a little bit in the middle of the road. He should be further across on the right-hand side. And that sort of meant he's taking a straight line into the corner rather than coming out on the left, on the right, and sort of coming back across. And there's a real nasty divot on the inside here, real nasty pothole, and he's just caught that on the rear, and it's just slung him around. And poor Shane, I mean, there's not much he could do here, but you see Shane's line in comparison, he's much further to the right. And Shane probably at this point here has seen Ludovic gone over, maybe a bit sideways, a bit hard to see. And at this point, you're blind, there's not much you can do, and yeah, that's really unfortunate for Shane. He done nothing wrong there, but this track, every corner, and even if it's not your fault, you follow someone in here, and yeah, you could hear Shane knew halfway down he's on the brakes, but there's nothing he can do. And then the person behind him as well is Jim, who's got the exact same problem coming through. Luckily, he managed to get past, but he got a bit of damage from that as well. So a bit of netcode contact, unfortunately. Actually, so he didn't get damage, which was strange. It looked like initially he did, but then it sort of fixed itself. And the other two are in a big pile of mess there. So, oh no, that's made it even worse. Inchident. So yeah, very unfortunate for Shane there. And yeah, Ludovic was doing well, but then yeah, it's funny though. His car doesn't actually look too bad. it would be a little bit damaged probably in the rear. You can see on the right side it's a little damaged. Tailpipes are a little bent. But overall, he got away with that. Could have been a race ending. But yeah, we'll go to the next incident. This is one that will remind you a little bit of Jamie's on lap 2. It's on lap 15, and it's Ed. So Ed, Eddie had pit, obviously, and served his stop-go penalty, and then he's trying to I guess make up a bunch of time to try and climb back up the order, but again, reiterating what I said a bunch of times, every corner here is a potential race ender, and similar to Jamie's, although he got a lot luckier, he was able to slam on the brakes sooner. He's just, again, understeered, a bit wide, kept his foot in, but then his rear tyre's just gone off, and that's it. You might be able to see it's coming through. Yeah, tire in the gravel, and that was it. Not much to that. Managed to keep it out of the wall, which was the main thing. But it did certainly hamper his recovery. And there's Ollie, also on a recovery drive, coming through. So a bit costly for Ed there, ending behind a couple other people again that he had already passed early on. So yeah, definitely costly there. But easy mistake to make. And as we saw, a bunch of people. Oh, that was very risky. This is very risky. I mean, it's a bit silly doing this, to be honest. It could end both races, but it would have had time on Ollie per lap. Just it's hard to pass in some other places, so we probably just thought he'd have a crack. I mean, mightn't have been able to get worse, but yeah, it looked like Ollie got a bad exit out of the corner, and then it had a good drive. But yeah, it's a very risky pass to make through there. And our last incident, Philip Hillard. After a cracking race, he started 12th. He's in P6. P5 on lap 23, only a couple laps to go. But as I said, all throughout the stream, this is can happen anywhere, anytime, any corner. And unfortunately for Philip, what I did almost into a bit of a schmozzle there, but it looks like to me he locked the rears going in, so he didn't lose it mid corner like I did in Quali. He lost it on entry. You can tell it's sort of some rear locking just by the way it kind of loses it just as he sort of turns in. It becomes like a bit of a pendulum. So yeah, a bit of rear locking there, and the guys behind should have seen that coming and slowed down a little bit more than they should, especially Jim, who's been involved in a couple of ding-dongs now, and he's just helped Daniel around, and yeah, that was unfortunate. So Daniel's got a bit of damage there on the rear, and for some reason still, Jim doesn't. He's got some damage on the front now. So, and so is Philip. So yeah, it's so there we go. So anyway, that's the segment, and think that's all we got there. I'll just finish off with Jace. So Jace put in a great, great consistent race. He was, way out in front. He had 10, what is it, in the end? 5 or 6 seconds on Miguel, who was running second, maybe a bit more. So he's not needing to push, he's just playing it smart. Bring it home, as I said, the amount of attrition in this race, you could lose it at any point, so there's just really no point to be a hero and set fast laps when you don't need to. There's some ego involved, and it's hard to stop. You got to make sure you stop yourself from doing that, from chasing lap time just to prove that you can go faster, because it doesn't matter if you win by a second or 20 seconds here. It's a win. So great job for the team pulling out a 1-2. Fantastic work, and well-deserved win for Jason, well-deserved first podium for Miguel. Anyway, that's race recap for Laguna Seca. I hope we never come back here. We are off to Zolder this week. I love the track. It's just so enjoyable to hot lap around. It's going to be an interesting race, probably much like Laguna Seca. A lot of attrition, some very close walls, some very close parts that are quite deadly. So it's not quite the same risk factor as Laguna, but there's definitely a bunch of places you can go off and it's race ending. So it's going to be probably another one to watch for who can keep it on the black stuff. I'm really looking forward to it. I will be streaming on it's 11:45 p.m. GMT on Friday, and that's 9:45 a.m. Australian Eastern Time on Saturday. So I'll be streaming then, catch that race, and then we've got the broadcast race the following day, and I'll be recapping that next week. So I hope you've enjoyed this recap. I know I didn't. Reliving that was painful, but anyway, live and learn, and I've definitely put a lot of work into the race starts now. So anyway, until Saturday, take care, have a good week, and I'll catch you then. Peace.
Jealousy has gone way too far.